This episode of Liberty Lines is brought to you with no commercial interruptions. The world has bet the farm on vaccines as the solution to the pandemic, but the trials are not focused on answering the questions many might assume they are. Peter Doshi, the associate editor of British Medical Journal, made that statement. The new COVID vaccines will make billions of dollars for the big pharmaceutical companies. But here's what they won't do. 1, the vaccines will not cure COVID. 2, the vaccines will not prevent people from contracting COVID. 3, the vaccines will not prevent COVID-related hospitalizations. And 4, the vaccines will not prevent COVID-caused deaths. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, if the vaccine doesn't prevent me from getting COVID or dying from COVID, then why should I take it? The answer is, you shouldn't. It makes no sense at all, especially in view of the fact that new vaccines pose considerable risks to one's health and well-being. Risks, you say? No one said anything about risks. I thought this wonderful new COVID cure was essentially risk-free. Just take the jab and presto, life goes back to normal. Wrong. There are risks, significant risks, that the media and the medical establishment have papered over with their ridiculous happy talk about miracle vaccines. But all of this is just public relations hype, designed to hoodwink people into injecting themselves with a dubious substance that does not do what it's supposed to do, and which does pose serious long-term risks to one's health. There are serious risks associated with taking the COVID-19 vaccine, as outlined in an article by the British Medical Journal by physician Arvind Joshi. He states, quote, adverse effects like subacute sclerosing panencephalitis, ascending polyneuritis, myopathies, autoimmune diseases, infertility, and cancers cannot be ruled out with short-duration trials. And rarer chance of developing malignancies are most dreaded possibilities, close quote. The rush for the vaccines should not lead to disaster, but it could. Most vaccine recipients will experience only minor aches and pains, but some undoubtedly will get quite ill and permanently damage their health. No one knows for sure, because there have been no long-term trials. The COVID vaccine has been fast-tracked from day one. So the question is, do the benefits outweigh the risks? And, in this case, they clearly don't. The chances of getting violently sick or dying from COVID are slight. The chances are approximately 1 in 400. While the potential adverse effects from the vaccine are spelled out above. Why would anyone roll the dice on a vaccine that does not prevent one from contracting COVID, does not protect one from hospitalization, and will not prevent one from dying? That's just not a good trade-off. Prevention of infection must be a critical endpoint, but prevention of infection is not a criterion for success for any of these vaccines. In fact, their endpoints all require confirmed infections, and all those they will include in the analysis for success. The only difference being the severity of symptoms between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Measuring differences amongst only those infected by SARS-CoV-2 underscores the implicit conclusion that the vaccines are not expected to prevent infection, only modify symptoms of those who are infected. Prevention is not even a primary objective. The standard for success in these trials is whether the vaccine mitigates COVID symptoms in people who test positive. But who cares about symptoms? What people care about is dying. That's why people are so eager to get vaccinated, because they think it will eliminate the threat of dying. This is a critical point, and one that's well worth mulling over. Einstein said the difference between genius and stupidity is that genius has its limits. Apparently, the CDC and the government have no limits.